لتحصلوا على الملايين ليس لكم إلا المحامي لورنس قاجي، خبرة طويلة في الإصابات وحوادث السقوط والسيارات، يتحدثون لغتكم، يحاربون من أجلكم. المحامي لورنس قاجي، الاستشارات مجانية ولا يستلمون أتعابهم إلا بعد إكمال القضية. زوروهم على 18000 West 9 Mile Road Suite 1400 Southfield. اتصلوا على المحامي لورنس قاجي 248-702-6641 248-702-6641.
أعزائي المستمعين وأيضا المشاهدين على صفحة إذاعة صوت الغد على الفيسبوك، أهلا وسهلا بكم وبرنامج جديد للمحامي لورنس قاجي من مكاتب قاجي لو فيرم. معي في الاستوديو المحامي لورنس قاجي والمحامي جان شرودر. Welcome.
Thank you for having us again. It's always a pleasure to be on your show.
Yes, thank you very much.
ومعي طبعا اليوم اللي افتقدناها الأسبوع الماضي البارليغال صديقتنا العزيزة ست تمارا. أهلا وسهلا.
أهلا وسهلا للجميع.
اليوم على أساس نتحدث عن شنو؟ نتحدث شيء عام.
أي أحد عنده أي سؤال
نعم.
يتصل بينا، احنا حاضرين لأي جواب نقدر نجاوبه.
نعم.
إذا الجواب شوية معقد يقدر يتصلون إلى المكتب مالتنا.
نعم.
حتى نجاوبهم براحة. لو يجون للمكتب همينا نقدر نساعدهم. رقم تليفوننا 248-702-6641. I wanted to give my cell phone number.
هذا المكتب مالكم. والمباشر اللي يحب يتصل بينا على الهواء على 586-825-2015. طبعا سؤالنا معروف أنه راح نتحدث عن شيء عام يتحدثون به المحامين الشباب ويانا حتى ننطي معلومات مهمة لأبناء جاليتنا.
It's funny. I have that number memorized, better than my brain. So sometimes I'll be at a doctor's office. They'll say, "What's your phone number?" I'll give them the office line by accident.
Okay. And I do the opposite.
Yeah.
You give your number
when you're leaving messages. You always call back the office line. So I just, it's funny.
عندنا نداء.
Oh, we have a call.
Oh, great.
Go ahead.
الو مرحبا استاذ طاهر.
اهلا وسهلا عزيزتي.
عندي سؤال للمحامي لورنس.
نعم.
أنا عايشة صار لي 4 شهور بميشيغان.
نعم.
وعندي أوهايو باليسي، يعني وصار عندي قبل شهر حادث انقلبت سيارتي من الخلف، يعني هل عندي تغطية أو لا؟ وشكرا جزيلا.
أهلا وسهلا أختي العزيزة.
Okay, we have a caller, and her question was, for the last 4 months, she's living in Michigan, and but she was living in Ohio, so she still have the Ohio policy. She was rear-ended, and she was asking if she has a case or she has any coverage, yes or no.
Well, that could be problematic. Yeah. Lawrence, do you want to?
So I'll just start off by saying, so the general rules are, every state has their own insurance laws, and you go off of which state, you took out your policy for. So it's an Ohio policy, is that right?
Yeah, that's what
okay.
That's what it said.
And the accident happened in Michigan?
In Michigan.
Okay. Yeah.
A month ago.
Yeah.
So let's say she was here 3 months.
Been here for 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's been here for 3 months. The accident happened a month ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think probably the answer is, Lawrence, unless you disagree, I think the answer is that probably she's not going to be eligible for any Michigan PIP benefits. And the reason for that is MCL 500-3102, which says that you have to have, if you're driving on Michigan roads an aggregate of 30 days during a year, you have to have a Michigan no-fault policy.
مثل ما تفضل المحامي لورنس بأنه أهم شيء إذا أنت تسوق على شوارع ميشيغان لازم عندك تغطية انشورنس ميشيغان. المتصلة هي عايشة بمشيغان صار لها 4 أشهر. القانون يقول لك حق 30 يوم فقط عندك تحويلة، واحد جاي سفرة أسبوع أسبوعين، بس عندك 30 يوم. ورا 30 يوم لازم عندك تغطية مالت ميشيغان. مع الأسف مع الأخت بما أنه هي بعدها عندها الأوهايو بوليسي ما يطلع لها any personal injury protection، يعني أي طبابة عن طريق ميشيغان ما تقدر.
الأسبوع الماضي تحدثنا عن نفس هذا الموضوع عن أوهايو. Last week we spoke about about Ohio and different.
So probably that's why she's calling.
Different.
So I just want to say this would have been very different if the caller didn't move to Michigan. Let's say they were from Ohio and they're driving in Michigan, gets into an accident in Michigan. Yes. That's fine. So the exclusion comes where, generally speaking, you have to let the insurance companies know if you have moved, and you had to do that within 30 days. So if, let's say she would have done that, and she would have had a Michigan policy, but let's say, let's say she never moved here, she got into an accident here, she wouldn't have Michigan PIP benefits, but she would have, the third party, the bodily injury aspect if, she said she wasn't at fault. So I just wanted to show explain the difference between the two scenarios.
مثل ما تفضل المحامي لورنس قال بأنه مثلا لو هي جاية هنا زيارة أو شغل أو أي شيء بس ما باقي أكثر من 30 يوم، القصة كلها غير شكل، معناته عندها تغطية ونقدر يعني عندها قضية يصير. بما أنه هي هنا وصار لها أكثر من 30 يوم معناته ما عندها تغطية. But also sometimes people travel for work, and they can sometimes be here a couple days and going back for,
which is fine.
Well, it can be fine, but if they're driving on Michigan roads for an aggregate of 30 days or more, the statute says no. Actually, they do have to have
30 days for the year.
30 days in a calendar
one
year.
year.
So if they're working in Michigan and they're driving back and forth from Ohio, they actually may not be covered. Now, if they're driving like a truck, they may have workers' comp or occupational accident insurance or something like that. But as far as PIP benefits, they would not be eligible, generally speaking, for Michigan PIP under that circumstance.
هاي جدا مهمة. لأنه إذا جبت الموضوع لأن ما ندري احنا هل هي هنا هي جاية على شغل تروح تجي الأوهايو ما نعرف، بس مدام انت بالسنة صار لك 30 يوم هنا تشتغل تروح وتجي لازم عندك تغطية مالت ميشيغان. إذا دا تسوي تراك درايفنج يعني تسوق الشاحنات هاي غير شكل، انت عندك وركرز كامب يعني عندك انشورنس مال العمل ولو اوكيوبيشنال اللي هي همينه مثل مال العمل مال الوظيفه اللي هي شويه الليمت مالتها اصغر بس هم عندك تغطيه. فلذلك لازم حتى لو تروح وتجي خلال السنه اذا صار لك اكثر من 30 مره جاي الميشيغان لازم تطلع insurance مال Michigan.
Okay.
Well, go ahead.
No, I'm just a reminder to our people to call if 586-825-2015. أي واحد عنده سؤال استفسار يقدر يتصل الآن على 586-825-2015 الحديث للمحامي شرودر.
Yeah. In fact, it's funny, Lawrence, I actually had an attorney in Ohio call me yesterday and ask me about her son. And her son is going to be in Michigan temporarily during the summer for work, just for summer. And she said, do I need to have Michigan insurance? And I said, yeah, you do. Because, even though he's not living in Michigan permanently, right, she now has to purchase basically a second policy. She has her Ohio policy, and she has to also have this Michigan policy, at least while he's in Michigan. Okay, for him, so that he's covered if he's in an accident.
That means he should have the two policies.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on. Usually, the way they do it is you can either separate it. It depends on the insurance company and the agent. Yes. That's actually more a question for the agents. Yeah, but most of the time, I believe what they do is they try to keep a Michigan policy separate from an Ohio policy. It's not usually a combined policy.
مثل ما تفضل المحامي جان قال بأنه البارحة المحامية محامية من أوهايو اتصلت بي.
نعم.
ابنها راح يجي يشتغل بميشيغان بس للصيف فقط. فسألته هل يحتاج هو انشورنس مال سيارة للميشيغان؟ نعم يحتاج. يبقى مالته مال أوهايو وياخذ له وحدة قصيرة مال كم شهر هنا بميشيغان. فحتى تكون دائما عندك تغطية، حتى تكون دائما عندك بلاتك تندفع. وإذا عندكم أي سؤال أو أي استفسار رجعوا اتصلوا بينا هسه على الراديو
586-825-2015.
Or you know what I would do is I would probably, if I was moving here for a summer or for a few months, I would probably pause my Ohio policy.
Good idea.
And make sure that I have Michigan insurance and just update them. So when you move back, you can cancel the Michigan policy and continue with the Ohio policy. Remember, everyone, we have, in my opinion, we have the best insurance in our state of Michigan, compared to our surrounding states. So you want Michigan insurance. It provides you better protection, in my opinion.
مثل ما تفضل المحامي لورنس قال همينه هذا اقتراحي بأنه يقدر يوقف الأوهايو باليسي لمدة كم شهر فقط ويخلي مع الميشيغان تمشي. ونريد يعني نذكر الجميع بأنه الميشيغان باليسي هي أقوى الباليسيز مدارنا كل الستيتس. فلذلك أحسن لك بأنه تحط ميشيغان باليسي.
أوكي، سؤال. أكو يعني حتى يسأل. أنا عندي مثلا انشورنس مال باليسي مالتي مال ميشيغان، ورحت الى اوهايو، بقيت اني في اوهايو فد شهر ونص شهرين، وصار عندي حادث في اوهايو. الانشورنس مالتي في ميشيغان راح ياكل واني حادث مالتي هناك.
Okay. Mr. Sahar's question is actually the opposite. He said, I live here, I have Michigan policy, but I went to Ohio for a month and a half, 2 months, and I got in a car accident. Will I covered?
That's a very good question. The answer is maybe, just like all.
Maybe.
So the answer you're gonna get from most attorneys.
Yeah. The attorney's favorite answer is maybe, but it depends on the circumstances. So in general, I am not an expert on Ohio law. Okay.
Yes.
In Michigan, if you're driving on Michigan roads, you are required to purchase a Michigan policy within that 30-day period, basically, right? So I don't know what Lawrence, do you know if Ohio requires within a certain period of time when to purchase an Ohio policy? Because I'm not sure. We're licensed and we do business in Michigan. Yes. So I don't have an exact answer for that.
You don't do business in Ohio.
We work with attorneys that do business in Ohio, and we ask them for their professional expertise in other jurisdictions.
If you were involved in an Ohio accident, we have lawyers that we utilize and refer cases to that are licensed in Ohio.
Yeah, but I don't have a policy there.
Right, and so that's why I'm not sure. So your policy may still cover you if you had a residence that you were maintaining in Michigan. Okay, it may. It very well may. However, again, I'm not licensed to opine on Ohio law. So I would defer to an Ohio attorney on that. Is that your understanding as well?
Yeah.
Okay. الجواب طبعا مثل كل محامي يعتمد. ما يقول لك مستحيل، يقول لك إيه لا يعتمد. ربما كل على الساعة شي يصير، الوقت، ايش قد انت تكون هناك. بس احنا مختصين لانه كل محامي اختصاص بالستيت مالته، بالولاية مالته. كل ولاية لها قوانين لها شكل، ماكو ولايتين لها قوانين نفس القوانين.
كل ولاية دولة
بالضبط. فلذلك بس إذا صار عندك هناك حادث وأنت عايش هنا تقدر تتصل بينا، وإحنا عندنا محامين نعرفهم هناك ونقدر نتصل بيهم ونشوف شنو الإجراءات اللي نقدر ناخذها ونساعدك بيها.
طبعا إحنا نحب أيضا نذكر رقم تليفون قاجي لو فيرم.
It is 248-702-6641.
زين، أي واحد يقدر يجي يمكم walk in.
نعم. يقدر. نعم. He's asking if anybody can come just walk into and ask questions.
Yeah, they can call us. They can set up an appointment. They can walk in. Absolutely. Any way they want to contact. They can even submit something on our website.
يخابرون على التليفون ويسوون موعد ويجون. يقدرون بس يجون للأوفيس مباشرة. يقدرون همين عن طريق الإنترنت على الويب سايت. يقدرون يكتبون الأسئلة مالتهم وإحنا رأسا نقدر نجاوبهم. أكو في عدة طرق نقدر نسويها بأنه المكتب مفتوح لكل الجالية ولكل أحد. أهلا وسهلا بكم.
طبعا. دائما الاستشارات طبعا مجانية.
الاستشارات مجانية ونحاول نجاوب بشكل واضح ومباشر ومفصل لكم ونمشي من هناك. Okay.
So now, one of the questions that does come up also is about like visiting, right? Like, well, can you just visit a state for a week or two?
Yes.
And the answer is, yeah, sure, of course, right? In your insurance in Michigan, will cover you. You'll be fully covered for injury. Usually, if you purchase it, you can even sometimes cover for collision, but you will definitely be covered for whatever your policy is. With respect to your injury coverages in an out-of-state accident, if you're going on vacation or you're visiting your relatives somewhere for a week or something like that. The problem comes into play when you're there for an extended period of time. So just to be clear, you don't have to freak out. If you're going on vacation, you're still covered.
المحامي جان تفضل بأنه هل هواية ناس هسه الصيف راح يجي، هواية ناس راح يسافرون. أكثر الناس يسافرون يبقون أسبوع أسبوعين 10 أيام عندك 30 يوم. طبعا اللي يسافر يعني للدول العربية اللي يرجعون للأهل هاي غير شكل. هناك ماكو انشورنس انشورنس بس احنا بدنا نحكي هنا إذا أردت تروح لأي ولاية من الولايات. No.
Well, foreign
even
countries,
Iraq, Iraq.
Thank you. Actually, you know what? That is a really good point. So you know what?
Can I just finish my translation?
Finish your translation because he mentioned foreign countries. Now I have to unfortunately change my answer slightly.
Yeah. So إلا تروح عطلة صيفية أسبوع أسبوعين بعدك عندك كل التغطية مال ميشيغان كل شيء ماشي يعني لا تحيرون وبس روحوا وتونسوا. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, no. So now you brought up a really good point, though. Are you still covered if you're overseas or in a foreign country? And the answer is actually probably not. The way that Michigan PIP works is you are covered in the 50 states and Canada. Actually, we do include Canada. So that's the one foreign country that you can visit and still be safe in the knowledge that your insurance will cover you. But it's not necessarily the case that in foreign countries that would
okay. Occur. You have policy. You have Michigan policy.
Yes.
Michigan.
Yes.
وأنت سافرت إلى كندا بقيت بكندا في الشهر. وصار عندك حادث في كندا. ما أعرف أوهايو مثل ما جاوبنا لكنه كندا دولة ولو قريبة بس هي دولة.
اوكي راح اساله بس اعرف الجواب بس لان هو محامي لازم
لا خليه هو يجاوب
طبعا. Okay, I said I know the answer but I'm going to ask you because you are the lawyer.
All right. It's funny, it happens all the time. Right?
Yes.
Tamara usually knows the answer to questions, but some clients just want to hear, what the lawyer has to say, even though it's the same answer.
Same
answer. More than that.
It's professional.
Oh, absolutely. More than that, she knows the answer. She tells them the answer. They just want to hear again anyway.
Let me to answer. Okay.
So, Mr. Sahar, question is,
yes.
Okay, you are living in Michigan. You went to Canada for over 30 days. Is this the same as Ohio rules, or is it a little bit different?
What do you think?
I think it is the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same kind of issue. Again, we're not licensed in Canada, right? So we're not Canadian attorneys. I can't opine on Canadian law and what their requirements might be. If you are maintaining your residence in Michigan and you have a Michigan policy, generally speaking, that will cover you in out of states and even potentially Canadian accidents. But again, depending upon the specific circumstances and what the jurisdiction you're in rules are, that could potentially change. And if you're living somewhere else, like if you're in Canada and you've lived there, and so your car is essentially being garaged there, right? Then you're no longer eligible for a Michigan policy. You'd only be eligible for a policy in the state in which your car was garaged. So it's kind of called the garaging address, and that's how insurance companies are rating and issuing policies.
The reason, before you translate, the reason I'm asking you, because our radio,
yes,
they can hear it in Canada.
Yes,
you know that.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Yeah. And we dealt.
Our listeners are there.
We have dealt with Canadian accidents before.
Yes.
So
مثل ما تفضل المحامي جان بأنه نفس الحالة مثل أوهايو. إذا صار لك أكثر من 30 يوم بمكان، حاول تسوي الانشورنس مال المكان اللي أنت وين قاعد بيه، لأنه إذا صار حادث راح يسألوك وين كانت السيارة جراجد، وبيا جراج واقفه، ايش صار لك كم يوم. اذا اكثر من 30 يوم بعد ما لك حق ترجع للبوليسي مال ميشيغان. فلذلك ورا 30 يوم دائما انت وين ما تكون سوي لك انشورنس بالمكان اللي انت تكون به. سؤالك انه انت يسمعونا بكندا، اهلا وسهلا اهل كندا امينه. المحامي جاني واني اشتغلنا على هوايه قضايا
كيس
مالتهم بالضبط، اللي هم كانوا هنا جايين وصار عندهم حادث بميشيغان، وهم بس هم من اهل كندا، واخذنا مالتهم القضيه ومشينا بها وربحناها، فعندنا همينا معلومات جدا جيده على كندا اللي مشتغلين بها. نعم. يس.
اليوم شو محامي لورنس اليوم ما حكى شيء.
اليوم محامي لورنس تعرف هو ما حكى شيء، بس دماغه يعني it is running، يركض النهار كله.
عارف هو ويانا، بس هو
لأنه هو يرسل إيميلات كلها جاية، وياهو اللي يسأله never لو شو وقت ما تخابره هو رأسا يجاوبك على أي تكست، على أي إيميل، وين ما هو كان.
طبعا هذا الحديث أنت مو إلي، هذا الحديث للمستمعين والمشاهدين.
Every night my wife yells at me. She said, "You're home from work. Why are you still on your phone? Why are you still working?"
Yes, I don't blame her.
Yeah, this is the reason that I remember once you said, "I'm 24/7."
He is 24/7.
I can't help it, and it's just my nature,
Because you enjoy it.
I enjoy it, and I feel like I'm always.
He cares.
He cares.
Yeah. When he cares, he enjoys it.
Exactly. That's why he cares.
لأنه هو يحب الشغل.
And that's why we say KJ cares.
And obviously it helps.
Sorry.
It helps when I have, when I have a good staff. It helps me work even harder, because when things are getting done and
good stuff. Good stuff will help.
It's not like I'm doing work that's not right. I'm working on staff's files and everything is always good. So
organized that.
Yeah. So it makes me want to work even harder.
وأكثر مثل ما قال المحامي لورنس، هو 24 ساعة بالأسبوع يشتغل. شو وقت ما تريد تتصل بيه، شو وقت ما تإيميله، شو وقت ما تسوي له تكست، رأسا يجاوبك.
جربت أنا. جربت أخابره فورا يجاوب.
I got a call from a client last night at like 8 p.m.
Yeah.
I answered. It was a 10-minute call, no big deal.
Yeah.
But I don't mind.
make him feel good.
Of course.
Yes. كل ما حتى احنا الكادر مالته اي شيء نحتاج من نسأل، معناته اكو سبب، ومرات الحل جدا بسيط ومرات لا، بس من رأسا تعرف شنو الجواب، حتى لو صعب يسهل لك اياه، لانه رأسا جاوبك، ما تنتظر كم ساعة وتفكر عافية. بالضبط. Yes. I was saying, even for the staff, for us, if we needed something, we email you because there is something we need from you. And you don't let us hanging for an hour or 2 or 3 and thinking about it. You immediately email us or text us and you give us an answer. And if it is it's easy. If it's difficult, you make it easy, and we go from there.
I think is the reason why I've been able to hold on to good people, you know.
Yeah.
Because you know how it is with this industry, you know, people don't stick around for too long. So that's one of the reasons why I'm able to hold on to really good staff, is because I'm always available to them. My door is always open, so to say.
Absolutely.
بالمناسبة طبعا غدا العيد.
غدا العيد إن شاء الله. ألف مبروك وعيد مبارك للجميع اللي يحتفله، وإن شاء الله الكل بصحة وعافية.
Yes.
Happy Eid everybody.
Happy Eid everybody.
طبعا عيد فطر سعيد للجميع.
A lot of text messages tomorrow. I'll be sending out.
Yes. It's everything is coming in right now. That's why it
they
is.
start.
Yes.
طبعا شنو الحديث اللي على اساس نتحدث به بعد؟
Anybody else have any questions? Any listeners have any
إذا واحد
questions?
عنده سؤال مو شرط يعني على هالموضوع اللي دا يتكلمون، أي موضوع يخص حتى الانشورنس يقدرون يجاوبوكم على 586-825-2015 586-825-2015 والحلقة تنقل لايف على صفحة إذاعة صوت الغد، والرقم المباشر يظهر بالشاشة موجود 586-825-2015. It's on screen on the top.
That's wonderful.
اي موجود.
It is.
فيقدرون يعني يخابرونا، مو شرط الا من ميشيغان، حتى من خارج ميشيغان. Not only Michigan.
That's true.
All over
صحيح.
state.
Absolutely.
Look, I mean, the point is, if we can't help you, I know somebody that can help you. So it's always a good idea to reach out to us.
المحامي لورنس يقول حتى اتصلوا بنا دائما، إذا ما نقدر نساعدكم نعرف إلما ننجزكم حتى نظل نساعدكم، فرجاء اتصلوا بنا وإحنا ندليكم الطريق الصحيح.
طبعا دائما احنا نقول الإصابات الشخصية وحوادث السيارات، لكن حتى لو عندك أي معاملة تخص فروع أخرى للمحاماة مثل immigration، شغلات السقوط، شغلات
الوركرز كامب، السوشيال سيكيورتي، اي شيء
الويلز.
MedMal, we do a lot of MedMal referrals.
divorce،
medical malpractice، يعني اذا صار غلط بالطبابه، بالطلاق، اي شيء، اخطاء طبيه،
slip and fall cases،
سقوط، اتصلوا بينا.
dog bites،
عضات الكلاب،
يس عضة الكلب طبعا،
وهنا تصير هوايه،
ودا تصير هوايه ومشاكل دا تصير بيها، خصوصا مثلا جيرانك يعني هاد الكلب ماله مثل ما يقول لك ويعضك.
You know, I was reading an article yesterday about there was some kids in a park, and the lady was walking her dog. She came over to to greet the kids, and she said, "You know, go ahead, don't worry, it's a friendly dog, you can pet." They were. One of the girls, seemed like she was maybe around 4 or 5 years old. She was petting the dog, and he turned on her and just started biting her face.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, you know, just some advice to all the listeners. I would not trust petting anybody else's dog, because you just never know. It's not worth it. It's really not worth it.
Yeah. مثل ما تفضل محامي لورنس، طبعا عنده بنات 2 وردات.
نعم الله يخليك.
كان ماخذهم للبارك وجتي وحد يعني، وكانوا هم بالبارك فاطفال دي يلعبون، وجتي وحده قالت لهم ما يخالف لازم الكلب ما يعض زين، وهاي الطفله بدات تمسد للكلب وهجم عليها وعضها من وجهها، فاحسن شيء واحد ما يتقرب يمهم من بعيد، هاي وبس.
Yeah, because you know, you just never know. I
ما
mean,
تدري.
you're petting somebody else.
ما تعرف الكلب هل هو شافك غريب أو خاف أو أنت لزمته بطريقة مو صحيحة.
نعم.
فأحسن شيء واحد يبتعد عنهم.
أنت تحدثتي عن الكلب الغريب.
إيه.
مثلا بس أكو قصة حقيقية.
إيه.
واحد عنده طفل وعنده كلب. الطفل يلعب ويا الكلب هذا قبل فترة هسه، يعني قبل حوالي فترة 15 يوم. الكلب عضه وسكارس وشغلات بالوجه. هذا شيء يقدر يسوي كليم
What does
was the question?
عطف mean? What,
عض.
yes,
bite.
yes.
Yeah.
This is a true story.
True
Just
story.
happened 15
Yeah.
days ago.
Yeah.
An owner of a dog and his son, his young son, and they always play. And something happened, and the dog bit the son, the younger son, all his face.
Oh, geez.
Does he have like a case on that, or because it's your own?
It's on. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he very well may.
Yeah, then generally those cases go under your home insurance. I'm not familiar with any exclusion that it can't be somebody that lives in the household. I'm not aware of.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'd again, this is probably a policy question.
ايه يا مثل ما يتفضلون المحامين هسه قالوا تروح تحت الانشورنس مال البيت حتى لو بنفس البيت ما يعتقدون اكو اي يعني مانع بس همنا نقدر نسال المحامي خاص للعضات الكلاب ونمشي بيها.
So a couple of the other things that we were going to talk about today was there are several ways in which people would not be covered, and then we were also going to talk a little bit piggybacking on what we talked about last time, which is examples of some cases that we've had where they were very much covered, and they ended up with pretty good results. So I guess Lawrence, what do you want to start with? You want to start with the sort of the exclusions, or you want to go through a couple cases?
Let's start with the exclusions.
All right. So for the exclusions, there's a statute, MCL 500-3113, and basically there are certain situations, the vast majority of the time, right? If you purchase insurance, right, and you're a Michigan resident, you have purchased your Michigan insurance, you're covered. Okay. But there are some occasions where there would be exceptions to that rule.
هسه راح نحكي على الاستثناءات اللي تجي ويا بالانشورنس شنو هي اللي طبعا كله بدنا نحكي احنا على ميشيغان.
Yeah. So the first, and I think a really obvious one actually, is the unlawful taking exception, i.e. if you steal a car, what's called an unlawful taking. In other words, to put it in just layman's terms, if you steal a car, you are not going to be eligible to be covered for your injuries if you're then later in an auto accident. It should be pretty obvious. Hopefully none of our listeners call us for this one.
Yeah, nobody asks you that.
This is not a question I get frequently, but just throwing it out there.
Laugh about it, but it happens
a lot.
Not where somebody steals a car, where let's say you're not paying attention. I take your car keys and I want to go to the gas station.
That's where it comes up.
Okay.
That's different.
So that's could be talking about stealing a car. In a real situation, we're talking about when you never gave permission to somebody to take your car.
Right.
Yeah, but if you give him permission, is different.
Right. Correct.
صحيح.
Yeah.
مثلا المثال الأول بأنه طبعا المحامي جان دائما من يحكي بالتقنيه العاليه بالانجليزي العالي
اللي شويه يعني صعب واحد يفهم.
صعب بالضبط. مثل ما تروح الدكتور يقول لك انت عندك لو يقول لك ايديك توجعك، لو يقول لك عندك مثلا كلها
يشرح اصطلاحات
طبيه انت ما تعرف راسك بعد من شعبك التيه. فمثل ما قال بس احنا راح نبسطها بانه اذا واحد يبوك سياره ويطلع بيها ويصير بحادث ما إلى هذا اول استثناء، ما إلى اي تغطيه، ما إلى اي حق يعني. بالضبط. حتى لو مثلا اني هسه اريد اروح بسرعه لاي مكان واخذت مفاتيح سيارتك وطلعت بدون ما اسالك، هاي همينه ما يطلع لي بعد اي تغطيه، لأنه أنا ما أخذت permission ما أخذت يعني ما سألتك وأخذت الأوكي من عندك.
And I'd like to point out here that it isn't always a very clear question, and I want to give you a specific example of a case that I had not too long ago where this was the issue, whether or not it was considered an unlawful taking. So I actually have lots of examples, but two come to mind. The first one is almost the most innocent one in a way. So there's a father, okay, who doesn't have a car. He's actually spending the night at his daughter's house, okay? And the father wakes up before the daughter, okay? And doesn't want to wake the daughter. So he takes her keys without asking
them.
Okay. Goes to the pharmacy to go pick up his medications. Lo and behold, on the way back, what happens? There's a car accident. So the question is this considered an unlawful taking? And the answer isn't necessarily very clear, but I'll let you translate that first.
معقد شوية بسيط وبنفس الحالة معقد بالنسبة للاستثناءات. واحد من الأمثلة الأب راح بات عند بنته أوكي وهو ما عنده سيارة قعد الصبح قبل بنته ولازم يروح ياخذ أدويته من الصيدلية أخذ السيارة أخذ الأدوية رجع صار بحادث. هل يستثنى لأن هو ما سأل بنته؟ هاي علامة استفهام. ما نقدر نقول إيه وما نقدر نقول لا. Why we can it is
why isn't it clear? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the question then becomes, well, did the father did he have general permission to take her car? Did he ever ask? Would she have allowed him to in the first place? And these are all kind of questions that tend to come out in discovery. And the answers to those questions can change whether or not an insurance company can legitimately deny the claim and say he's not eligible for PIP benefits, or whether or not they have to pay. So, but there are other problems that can crop up in that too, which is, if he's using it all the time, is he an owner and then has to insure it himself? So it becomes complicated. So the best way to avoid that sort of situation is, get affirmative permission. Yes, I asked, and yes, she said I could take it.
Oh,
that's the best way.
He have to lie.
No.
We don't lie.
I'm saying ahead of time.
You just got to get permission.
No, I'm saying you have to. I'm saying you never can someone lie about their circumstances.
And don't assume that you have permission. Actually,
always they have permission because they are his daughters.
Sometimes no.
Well, you'd be surprised. Yeah. You'd be surprised. I've actually heard some family members say, no, he didn't have permission. I don't want him to take the car, and he shouldn't have taken it, and I wouldn't have given him permission if he had asked. And then there could be a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Look, we all love our family, but there are disagreements that happen. So,
and you never know. Accident happens.
Yeah, you get permission.
Yeah.
that's the short answer here.
Change pretty quick.
Yes, that's right.
مثل ما تفضل المحامي جان قال ليش معقدة؟ أولا لأنه ما سأل. بس وين راح يجي التعقيد؟ بأنه هل هو مستعمل السيارة قبل؟ هل بنته احتمال راح تسمح له لو ما تسمح له؟ هل هو سايق السيارة قبل؟ هل هو
ماخذ موافقات من عندها
دائما؟ هل هي تقبل إيه لا؟ لو مستعمل السيارة أكثر من اللازم اللي لازم أصلا اسمه يكون بالإنشورنس همينة. أكو هواية تعقيدات. حتى يكون واحد جدا واضح دائما اسأل وأخذ الجواب. إذا إذا لا عوفها وامشي.
Now I have another example too of this particular exception that I actually argued in the Michigan Court of Appeals. And it was a very interesting case because the situation in this particular one was my client did get permission to drive the vehicle, but the insurance company believed it was a stolen vehicle. Okay, I'll let you translate that and I'll explain more about the situation.
القصة الأخرى عندنا بأنه هذا الزبون اللي عندنا كان هو ماخذ موافقة بأنه يسوق السيارة، بس أهل الإنشورنس كانوا يعتقدون بأنه هاي السيارة مبيوقة مسروقة.
Okay.
So
the insurance company. The insurance companies usually throw out more than one argument as to why they aren't supposed to, or they shouldn't have to pay. Okay, and this case that I argued was one of those cases where they had several different arguments, but the major one that went up on the Court of Appeals was whether or not he, by virtue of being in this car that they alleged was stolen, which, by the way, I would add that they never actually proved that it was a stolen car. But the question was whether or not, if it was a stolen car and if he had been given it, was that alone enough to preclude him from PIP benefits? And in this case, the Court of Appeals actually said no. Why? Because he did not have knowledge that the car was stolen, and there was no way he should have known, because he believed the owner of the car had given him the keys, and he'd only found out later that that guy wasn't the owner of the vehicle.
So how was he supposed to know at that?
So how was he supposed to know? I mean, do when you borrow someone's car, do you ask them, "Hey, do you actually own that car? Or did you steal it?"
Let me see the title.
That's not a reasonable question to ask.
Never.
Nobody asks that,
Nobody asks this.
right? So that was kind of what happened here.
صارت رواية طويلة شوية.
لا مو مشكلة. القصة تطورت، راحت للمحكمة العليا. طبعا الانشورنس أهم شيء هم يسووه بأنه يحطون عدة أشياء عراقيل حتى ما يدفعون. هذا يعني الشيء المعترف عليه، وهاي
صحيح.
الحقيقة. أول شيء قالوا بأنه هاي السيارة مبيوقة. الشخص اللي كان دا يسوقها سائل اللي هو كان يعتقد بأنه هو هذا اللي ينطاه المفاتيح، بأنه هو الأونر يعني هو سيارة باسمه، ما يدري. فمن صعدت للمحكمة العليا، والحاكم قال لا، هو إله حق ياخذ التغطية. ليش؟ لأنه هو ما يعرف، كان هو ما يدري هاي السيارة مبيوقة، هاي مو مالته السيارة. انت من تروح تاخذ، من اجي اخذ هسه اقول لك استاذ ساهر اعطيني سيارتك، السياره باسمك، ما انت بايقها. بالضبط. اكزاكتلي. يعني ما مبين، فلذلك الحاكم صار له يعني للزبون واخذ كل حقوقه. Yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of the unlawful taking exception, right? Again, the concept here is, make sure that you get permission, and that from the person, and you should normally be fine. The next exception that we've talked about a lot is is simply not having insurance at the time of the loss. You are not going to be eligible to have your injuries covered, even from the at-fault driver, if you did not maintain your own insurance in a car that is yours, that you're driving. So if you're driving your own vehicle, you've got to maintain insurance.
إذا السيارة باسمك والسيارة مالتك وانت ما مشتري انشورنس، وحتى لو مو انت غلطان، ما يطلع لك لا تغطية طبابة ولا تغطية ضد اللي ضربك نهائيا. معناته انت سيارة باسمك ومتقصد بانه انت ما تشتري انشورنس، فما حد يقبل يغطيك وتطلع ايد ورا وايد قدام.
Yeah, and I feel, and we've talked about that particular subject so many times. I think that at this point, the listener should know, if you're here and you got a car, you got to insure it, right?
Yeah.
So
خلاص هذا أهم شيء.
أهم شيء بمشيغان أنت أو أي مكان. تسوق سيارة والسيارة باسمك، لازم أكو insurance على السيارة.
I think that's probably the biggest exclusion that we see
all the time.
For considering all of our new intakes cases that we don't take, probably the majority of them just own a car and they don't have insurance on that car.
Yeah. And to be clear, if you're in someone else's car, you don't have to insure their car, right? Just because you don't have insurance doesn't mean you're excluded in all circumstances. But if you're driving your own car and you're in an accident, and you don't have insurance, that's when you're excluded.
مثل ما تفضل المحامي لورنس قال بأنه احنا القضايا اللي ما ناخذها أكثر، يعني 99% بأنه هو كان صاحب السيارة وباسم السيارة وما عنده انشورنس. هاي الوحيدة اللي احنا ما نقدر ناخذ هاي القضية نهائيا. لا ما تمشي وما حد ياخذها.
The first question that a car accident lawyer should ask you.
هاي أول سؤال احنا نسأله، أو أي محامي مال حوادث السيارات يسأل بأنه هاي السيارة باسمك، هل أنت إذا
فيها انشورنس ولا لا؟
بالضبط. هذا أول سؤال. مو معناته إذا أنت تركب ويا احد بالسياره وما عندك انشورنس معناته انت ما عندك تغطيه. هاي غير شكل.
هاي تفرق.
هاي دائما تفرق.
If we can go over the constructive ownership stuff, but
Yeah, we can.
Something else to look out for is even if you're not on the title, you don't own it, technically, legally speaking, you can still be considered a constructive owner, which means, you know, it's my friend's car, but I drive it every day. You know, that sort of thing.
السيارة همينة احتمال تكون مو باسمك، بس احتمال تكون انت همينة يعني بما معناها هي إلك. شلون؟ تسوقها يومية، تحط لها بنزين، تسوي لها مينتننس، تسوي لها يعني توديها للجراج وتصلحها.
You have your own set of keys.
عندك مفتاح مالتها. هذا تعتبر بأنه أنت كمخول ويساوي بأنه أنت السيارة بالضبط، بأنه السيارة مالتك.
The courts will treat that just like you're a titled owner. Same thing.
المحاكم تعتبرها بأنه هاي السيارة باسمك وملكك وإلك.
حتى لو مو باسمك.
بالضبط.
I think I understood what you were saying in Arabic this time. You got the keys, the maintenance, the gas, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because half of Arabic now is English.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just that I knew exactly what she was saying because I've heard her say it so many times in translating to clients. but that's exactly right. I mean, you do have to be careful about you can't just get a car, swap it with your friends, and neither of you have insurance, and then you're good, right? It doesn't work.
That's what the law is trying to prevent, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. So, the next exception is basically has to do with.
I'm looking at the time for you.
With being a resident of the state, right? If you are not a resident of the state, okay, unless you own a motor vehicle that's registered and insured in the state, you don't get Michigan PIP benefits. That is, you are still eligible for a pain and suffering claim, and you may be able to get your medical bills paid through a pain and suffering claim or through health insurance. But as far as Michigan personal injury protection benefits, you are not eligible for that anymore as of 2019 if you are an out-of-state resident. So I think that's an interesting new exception.
إذا أنت عايش بغير ولاية وصار الحادث بميشيغان بأنه ما تقدر تأخذ تغطية مال ميشيغان، ما تقدر. نقدر احتمال إذا عندك عطل ضرر نحولها بأنه على العطل ضرر economic and non-economic.
Correct.
لو لازم يروح على الانشورنس الطبي مال الشخص نفسه اللي تأذى اللي هو معايش بميشيغان.
Yeah. So the important thing to know there is, again, just like I said about that lawyer who'd called me earlier in the show, if you are going to be in Michigan for an extended period of time, you better purchase that Michigan policy.
طبعا دائما نقول لكم رقم تليفون المحامي مكتب المحامي لورنس قاجي هو 248-702-6641. طبعا باقي لنا تقريبا
Just wanted to add one more thing.
Yes,
so obviously we go over all of this stuff because I want the listeners to avoid this. You know, just in case down the road they have an accident, you can't go back and fix these things later.
Exactly.
So that's why we're giving this advice, so that way you can fix it before something happens. To be proactive.
Yeah.
مثل ما تفضل المحامي لورنس قال بأنه احنا ننطي هاي النصائح حتى ما توقعون بمشكلة، حتى قبل ما توقعون بمشكلة انتوا عندكم التغطية وماخذين الانشورنس واحنا نقدر نساعدكم بيها.
وتقدرون تتصلون الاستشارة مجانية.
نعم.
يقضي وقت وياك كلها استشارة مجانية.
And I had one last final word, if I may add it, before we run out of time. And that is, there's also the final exception is when you're an excluded operator. So in other words, if you purchase a policy and then you go and exclude yourself from the benefits on there, right? So you're saying you are either exclude yourself from PIP or you exclude yourself as you are not allowed to drive the vehicle. Very frequently, that's going to create a problem if you then try and go back later to that policy.
A family member,
or exclude a family member. Right.
So when you take out a policy, like take out a policy and you say, okay, my son Kyle is not going to drive the car. and he drives the car and gets into a car.
Now there's a problem.
الاستثناء الآخر بأنه الأهل يشترون انشورنس بس يستثنون أولادهم، بحيث إذا صار بحادث سيارة كل شيء ما يطلع لهم للأولاد.
أعزائي المستمعين وأعزائي المشاهدين، طبعا احنا دائما نتجاوز على الوقت، واليوم تجاوزنا لأنه بس راح ننهي البرنامج أيضا ويا البرنامج ويا وقتنا. Thank you very much, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. John.
Thank you as always.
ونشكرك أختنا العزيزة الباراليغال تمارا.
شكرا.
وعيد فطر سعيد.
شكرا.
إن شاء الله
للجميع.
دائما تكونين بصحة وعافية.
أشكرك، تسلم.
مستمعينا مشاهدينا الأكارم، نلتقيكم إن شاء الله في الأسبوع القادم. وطبعا انتهى أيضا وقتنا في إذاعة الصوت الغد. نقول لكم كان معكم صديقكم ساهر المالح. إلى اللقاء يا أحلى الأصدقاء.